Happy 2012. Here's a simple way to create a basic website totally from scratch using Dreamweaver CS5.5. Now the techniques I'm going to share with you today can be done in basically any version of Dreamweaver post CS2. So we're going to get started. I place some text here. This just comes from the Ipsen website. I just copied and pasted Latin text on the page. I'm working in classic mode. The only palette I have up here is my insert palette, the property palette, and the CSS styles palette. All palettes under the window menu CSS styles. So let's get started here. So the objective here is to show you how to make a very flexible website from scratch. We're going to do some basic CSS rules, and here's how it's done. The first rule we're going to put on the page here is basically a wildcard tag. We're going to go down here to compound and basically type in the asterisk. The asterisk is going to set the default of all 92 HTML tags. This way I can set the default padding and margin of all 92 HTML tags. That's what the asterisk tag does. That's the first tag that I put on a website to basically talk to all default 92 HTML tags. I hit OK. Based on these choices here, I'm going to go to box category. I'm going to set my padding to 0 and my margin to 0. Now, why do I set both padding and margin? Because some browser default to margin space, some browser default to padding space. This accomplishes both. So if I scroll this down here, there's my HTML tag, the CSS rule I just made for the universal tag. Now, these are paragraph tags. How do I know that? Because if I come down to the bottom left, I can see this is a paragraph and this is a paragraph. Now, the problem with my paragraphs right now is the paragraphs have no spacing between the paragraphs. The reason is the asterisk tag set the padding and spacing to 0. Now, we're going to set a rule for the body tag. The simplest way to do that, select the tag, make a rule. Select the tag, make a rule. We're going to select the tag, come over here and make a rule for the body tag. Now, not body paragraph, simply body tag. So I hit OK. We're going to change the font family to Tacoma, the font size to 14.5 pixels. It defaults to black, so I'm not going to make it black because it defaults to black. Hit the apply option. There's my 14.5 pixels body tag. Now I'm going to set the P for paragraph tag. Select the tag, make a rule. Select the tag, make a rule for the P for paragraph tag. Now I don't need to be this specific. I don't want to say body P. I simply want to say P. I do this simply by hitting less specific. This will be for the P tag for the entire site. Now, a couple things we're going to do differently from past tutorials. We're going to set the padding margin for this P tag. First of all, we're going to set the line height. The line height in desktop publishing will be similar to leading. Leading is equal to line height. So we're going to make this 1.5 EM spaces. That just puts more space between lines per paragraph. If you want this to be more, 1.75, apply option, etc., etc., etc. We're going to keep that down to 1.45, apply. Next, I go to the category box, category box. Now, from the left and right, we're just concerned about padding to the left and the right. To the left, we want to have padding of 15 pixels. To the right, we want to have padding of 25 pixels. Now, after each paragraph, I want to have space at the bottom of the paragraph. I do this with margin space at the bottom of the paragraph. Bottom 1.6 M space. Why an M space? M space equal to the height of the letter M. It's more flexible than pixels. Pixels is not a flexible setting. M space is. Hit the apply option. So now it has space between the paragraphs. If you want less space between the paragraphs, I could say 1.35 M spaces. That's my space between each paragraph, etc., etc., etc. Let's actually make that 0.9 M's. So I have something like this. Make a change, save a change. Good habit to get into. So far, we're off to a great start. I have the asterisk tag followed by the body tag followed by the P for paragraph tag. The paragraph tag has padding to the left and padding to the right. Now I'm going to set some header tags. I'm going to hit the return key here. I'm going to hit the return key here. And I'm going to hit the return key here. These are separate paragraphs. I'm going to make this header 1. Macintosh Command 1 makes it header 1. Windows Command Control 1 makes it header 1. I'm going to make this paragraph header 2. Command 2. Windows would be Control 2. Make this paragraph header 3. Command 3. Make a change, save a change. Now, there's no rules for my header tags. I'm going to basically set up header tag rules for H1 through H6. Here's a simple way to do this. Select the H1 tag, select the tag, make a rule. Make a rule for the selected tag. I don't need to be this specific. I'm going to say H1, comma, H2, comma, H3, comma, H4, comma, H5, comma, H6. We're going to set rules for all these header tags, 1 through 6, 1 being the biggest, 6 being the smallest. Okay, now we're not going to set the font or the size. We definitely would not set the size. That'd be defeating the purpose of why we use H1 through H6. However, we're going to go to the box section and set from the left. We're going to set from the left margin the same thing we did with our paragraph tag, which is 15 pixels to the left. Okay, make a change, save a change. That's all we're going to do for this. Okay, so those tags are set. Now, if you want to individually change this, so let's say this header tag, I want it to be, say, all caps and smaller. So I can do that by going to the H1 tag specifically for that tag. So I'm going to basically select compound, less specific, hit OK. Let's make this 24 pixels. Let's make this uppercase. Now it's 24 pixels uppercase. So let's actually make this bolder. Okay. Now, depending on the font that you pick, it may not make it bolder, depending on the font that you pick. So in this particular case, I'm just going to leave this to nothing. Not normal. It defaults to normal. I'm going to make it nothing. Nothing's my default. Make a change, save a change. Now we can start building out the site itself by basically taking the content and wrapping it inside of a wrapper tag. Select the tag, select the body tag. The body tag is the entire contents of the site. Go up to the layout tab. There's a lot of things happening up here. We're going to go to the layout tab, select the first icon, insert div tag. We're simply going to call this div tag wrapper. It's going to wrap the entire site. Wrapper with a W, not wrapper with an R. Wrap as in gift wrapping, not as in yo-yo. Okay, so I have a tag, but I don't have a rule for this tag. I have a wrapper tag, div tag called wrapper that starts here, div tag called wrapper that ends here, but I don't have a rule for the wrapper. So I select the tag, and make a rule. Make a rule for the selected tag. Rule number 1 to software. In order to affect something, you need to select something. So I hit OK. So we're going to make this box width be 1200 pixels, 1200 pixels wide. We're not going to give it a height. We're simply going to give it a width of 1200 pixels. So I get something like this happening. Okay. Now I'm going to change the border. Border is going to be solid 2 pixels. I don't have to make it black because it defaults to the content of the body copy, which is black. We also want to go back to the box character. Box from the top. We're going to drop this down from the top, 36 pixels. Now there's 72 pixels to an inch. So let's say you slept through 4th grade math class. We can simply say 72 divided by 2. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Auto to the right, auto to the left, automatically puts it in the center. So there's my content. Make a change, save a change. So again, notice that wrapper, double click wrapper, has no height. The height will adjust to the content itself by giving it no height. Now we're going to take this information here. We're going to basically give this a bit of a haircut here. We're going to return key. We're going to return key here. We're going to make this header 1, this header 2, this header 3. Okay? So we're going to take this content, select the content. In order to affect the content, we need to select the content. In order to affect, we need to select the content, go up here to layout, the first icon again, insert div tag. We're going to call this the branding tag, branding. Why the branding tag, not the header tag? The branding tag is where the catchphrase, the logo, maybe the phone number, maybe I don't want to put on in the top. Maybe I want to put on the left or the right. So don't call your div tags where they're located. Call them what they do, what they contain. Okay, so I select the tag, select the branding tag, come over here and make a rule for the branding tag. Again, I don't need to be this specific. So I'm going to say less specific, branding top. From the top, you're going to make this 150 pixels to the top. Now it's 150 pixels from top to bottom. Okay, make a change, save a change. I'm just going to delete this little period symbol here. Okay, now this content here is going to go inside the main content div. So select the content, select what you're going to affect. In order to affect, we need to select. Go back up here to insert div tag and call this main content. Now this is going to be camel case, which means I capitalize the third word of what I'm spelling, because you can't put spaces in here. So it's main content, and I hit OK. Select the tag down here and make a rule. We're going to make a rule for main content. Now wrapper tag was 1200 pixels wide. So eventually we're going to have a tag over here to the right that's going to be Google Ads. That's going to be 200 pixels. Then we're going to have a site nav over here that's going to be 150 pixels. So here's how we're going to figure out the leftover space here. We're going to basically select the tag, make a rule for main content. We're going to say the width of the site is 1200 pixels minus the site nav, which is going to be 150 pixels. Okay, minus Google Ads, which is going to be 200 pixels. This is left over. This is going to be the width of the main content tag. This is going to float to the left. Floating to the left allows content to go to the right. I hit the apply option. Okay, I hit OK. Now, something very peculiar just happened to our design because the wrapper is not wrapping the site. If you look at this, the wrapper is wrapping the branding tag. The reason the wrapper is wrapping the branding tag is because the branding tag has no float, nor does the branding tag need a float. If it had a float, then the wrapper tag would collapse on top of itself. So we need to put a footer tag in here, not give the footer tag a float, but give the footer tag a clear. That's going to solve the problem. The wrapper can't wrap this tag because this tag is floating. The wrapper tag is not floating. So here's how we solve the problem. There's nothing to select here. I simply want to go and insert a div. So I go up here to insert div tag. Now, based on these choices, here's my dialog box. These are my choices. Based on these choices, where do I want to put this div tag? We're going to put this before the end of tag, before the end of the wrapper tag, because nothing goes outside the wrapper. It's a simple process. We're going to put something called footer, F-O-O-T-E-R. The footer tag is going to go before end of tag, before the end of the wrapper tag, because nothing goes outside the wrapper tag. Based on these choices, I hit OK. Now, footer is not going to do anything because I haven't created a rule for footer. So here's a simple way to create a rule for footer, so it appears down here at the bottom. I select the tag, and make a rule. Again, less specific. I hit OK. Now, a couple things I want to do with footer. First of all, I want the footer height to be 50 pixels. I'm going to make the line height 50 pixels. That's going to vertically put the text in the center, top and bottom center. I want to make my text white because I want to make my background color orange, and I want to text align this to the center, left and right center. This is block text align center. Okay. Now, based on these choices, box, if I hit the apply option, that's not what I'm looking for because footer needs to go at the bottom. Footer needs to go at the bottom. Footer will go at the bottom if I clear the floats above. Now, eventually, I'm going to have two left floats and a right float. So based on these choices, these are my choices, I'm going to clear both the left float, which is main content, and the right float, which will eventually be the Google ads. So I hit the apply option, and footer ends up at the bottom. Make a change, save a change. Okay, now we're on our way here. So now I need to put in the other div tags. Now I don't have content for site nav, and I don't have content for Google ads. That's totally acceptable. That's totally fine. How do we solve the problem? We go up here to insert div tag. We're going to call the div tag site nav. Camel case. Again, based on these choices, dialog boxes are very important. That's how I communicate with the software. Don't be intimidated by dialog boxes. Just get to know your choices. Based on these choices, what do you want to do? If you're not sure what to do, what don't I want to do? Well, I don't want to cancel. That's not going to help me. I don't want it okay because I don't know what these choices are. So I want to insert after, in this particular case, I can say after the branding tag, or I can say before the main content tag, we're going to insert a div tag called site nav, and I hit OK. Now, if you're magically thinking that the site nav is going to just appear over here to the left, that's not going to happen because that's not what we asked it to do. Go to your code for a second. It did what we told it to do. We said put a site nav before main content. So if you look here, that's exactly what it did, but there's no rule for site nav. So we're going to create a rule for site nav by selecting the tag, making a rule. Selecting the tag, making a rule. Make a rule for the selected tag. In order to affect the tag, you need to select the tag. So again, site nav, less specific site nav. Now we made enough room for the site nav to be 150 pixels wide. Now if I hit the apply option right now, the site nav is still going to sit up here because the site nav, in order to have content go to its right, the site nav needs to float to the left. In order for something to go to the right of something, it needs to float to the left. So I'm going to float this to the left. So as an example, if you floated this to the right, it would appear over here. I don't want it to appear there. I want it to appear here to the left. Floating to the left allows content to the right. Now in this particular case, this text here, it put in some placeholder text here. This text doesn't have any padding because this is not a paragraph. Okay, so I can select this and apply a paragraph to that. So I'm just going to select this text and basically say format as a paragraph. Therefore, it'll have some kind of padding. Now, notice very, very important step here, that the text is smashing up against the top of this box. Now, I could have gone to my H tags and give them some kind of padding from the top, but here's a slicker, simpler way to do this. Okay, we can do this very simply by going to and creating a rule for a div tag. Not a selected div tag, just div. Div is one of the 92 HTML tags. So how do we do this? I create a rule for div. Div. Now I can do that from here too by going to tag and selecting div from here, or simpler to just type it in, div. Now I'm going to create a rule for div. Now whenever I have a div, I'm going to tell the code to basically put some padding at the top. I want to put 15 pixels of padding at the top if I have a div. Now, unfortunately, look what has happened here. It put padding on top of the wrapper tag as well. I don't want to have padding on top of the wrapper tag. So how can I solve this problem? First of all, the div tag should appear after the body tag. So it's body div paragraph. Okay, so I don't want to affect wrapper tag. I just want to affect div tags that are inside of div tags. So I can solve this problem very, very simply by saying div space div IV. That's going to just affect a div when a div is inside of a div. Pretty cool. Now, notice that it affected this. So that kind of screwed up my footer here. So what I can do here is go back to my footer and footer box in the top, say -15. That's going to put this back in the center. Because by default, the footer is a div inside of a div, which is true. Okay, but I don't want this to be padded to the top, so I could do -15 pixels. Where did I get the 15 pixels? That was the amount of div space that I got from the top of the box, 15 pixels. Okay, make a change, save a change. Very, very slick technique, very, very simple technique. Now, the padding is not inside the div itself. From the left and right, the left and right is being taken care of by the paragraph tags and the H1 tag. Now, the H1 to H6 does not have padding to the right, it just has padding to the left. Okay, now I can insert my final div tag to the right here, which is Google Ads. So I'm going to come up here, insert, call this Google Ads. Now, this is not going to be a real Google ad, which basically the code comes from Google. This is just going to be a facsimile of putting some kind of thing to the right, whether it's ads or a newsletter or quotes or whatever you want to put there. We're going to say put this after what? After main content. Or I can say before footer. We're going to say after the tag called main content, we're going to put a tag called Google Ads. Now again, Google Ads is taking up this entire space because it doesn't have any rules. There's no rules to this. We're just going to make this NH3 tag temporarily, NH3 tag. So select the tag, and make a rule. Make a rule for the select the tag. In order to affect the tag, you need to select the tag. Less specific. Now, Google Ads, we made how much room? We made room for 200 pixels. We're going to type in 200. Okay, now 200 pixels is not going to fit in there until I float this to the left. By floating to the left, the content goes to the right. By floating to the right, the content goes to the left. In this particular case, now if you're going back to back to back, I could float everything to the left, but just because I can, I'm going to float this to the right. Now notice I didn't give this a height because it's going to self-contain. It's going to basically grow to the height of itself. Make a change, save a change. So in a matter of minutes, I create a website that I can build from scratch using CSS rules. Everything was built from scratch. The only content we had was copied and pasted onto the page first. Simple, simple, simple. Now, before we move forward here, I'm just going to do some basic housekeeping here. This basically should be ordered in how it was created. So basically, the HTML should be on top, followed by the wrapper tag, followed by the order it was created. So it's wrapper, branding, site nav, main content, Google Ads, footer. Make a change, save a change.